I still wanted to be a professional ice hockey player. This kind of myth of working as an artist during the nights drinking red wine.
How long can you do that before
exactly.
you just break? Today we're in the studio of Pasi Autio, who is a Helsinki-based artist who works with image and sound. You can tell a bit more, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I work with moving image and sound, and I have studied photography, so I have a background in photography. And at the moment, I am actually going to do one of my first photographic works for probably almost 20 years. I made this bird disco vinyl record, which we can then look later. For the covers, I was working with photos. I come into that more and more with that project.
Let's maybe start from how you even became an artist. Like, what was your background? Do you have any artists in your family?
No, I don't. And when I have grown up in Vaasa. Probably first ones contact to the visual art was through the vinyl covers. Somehow, they were like the biggest images what I was watching when I was a little bit younger. This like a LP size covers.
Yeah.
Then I was really into music too, which was introduced by my cousin who is 2 years older, and I listened really much music when I was young. So I have that was more of my contact to the art in somehow more than visual art actually. And
but then you ended up in photography.
Huh?
How did you end up in photography then?
Well, somewhere when I was a teenager, I think my friend was an exchange student in USA, and when he came back, he had started taking black and white photos there. And he sort of showed me the camera and the photos. And then I got a little bit interested about it. And but I never really saw any photo exhibitions in Vaasa during that time. The only interesting memory what I have is that I went to this, I was living in an area where there wasn't any library in Vaasa. So it was 6 kilometers from the town. And we had this library bus which came there 2 times in a week. And from that, one of the bookshelf, I found a small black book which I started to look, and I think it was fascinating because it was a naked old man in it. And I was looking at it, and I saw these images of him in this strange a place. And I looked at the cover and noticed that it was Jan Kaila's book about Eelis Sinistö. And I haven't never seen this kind of a book. I didn't really understand what is this book. It's just
just images.
It's just images of a man living in this strange place, and I thought it was a fascinating book, but I couldn't even understand that this is a kind of a photo book. And it's really funny because then later Jan became one of my teachers when I was studying photography, of course. And so that was sort of my first introduction to the photography art in a book format. Then I was quite lost after the high school. I didn't really know what to do. Then I ended up studying here in Helsinki in Laajasalon kristillinen opisto. I'm not sure if it's
a university type of?
No, that's sort of I don't know, I should have checked the word in English, but that's sort of 1 year studies before you apply to, for example, to study journalistics or whatever.
Okay.
You pay for that, and then it's sort of a preparation school for your
Never heard of that.
Okay, we could check that. So there was a couple of different lines where you can pick, and I found that there was fine arts, and there was journalistics and communication, and I spoke with my mother about this, and I said to my mother that I would probably like to participate in this fine art part. And she looked at me and said that, Pasi, you can draw, but you don't have any kind of artistic view or artistic talent. And then I thought about that, well, maybe not. So I ended up in this journalistic and community studying. That also needed to applied.
Yeah.
I needed to apply for that. But it was the kind of a thing that my parents paid for that school. And I also felt that I haven't really shown this kind of like a passion for fine art or so I sort of understand my mother's comment that she was afraid that I'm just going to jump on some different, like something what I just come up with a couple of months ago or whatever.
Yeah, and when you're so young, I guess you don't have the confidence that, oh, no, but I can do this. No.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And in that school, it was about journalistics and like writing, but there was also photographing, and there was a dark room. I was lucky that it was possible to use this dark room, little bit of like own time too.
Yeah.
So I was taking photos during that year in Laisalo, and then learned to develop films and make black and white photos. And after that, I applied to the school in Lahti, which was called at that time Lahti, the Design Institute of Lahti, and there was a photography department. And I got in there, so that's sort of like my way to the photography.
So it was like a bachelor degree in Lahti where you were studying, and then you went to Taik. What was it back then?
Yeah.
Or did you spend some time in between?
No, actually, how was it? Yeah, I studied in Lahti from 96 to 2000. Then I graduated from Lahti, and I met my wife, who I'm still with, still together, 98 in Iceland, and she's from Sweden. And we needed to decide which country we are going to stay. And we decided to stay in Helsinki. And we moved to Helsinki together. She was moving from Stockholm and I came from Lahti, and we decided to start the life together in Helsinki. So it was quite obvious that I needed some money directly. So I just started to work as a freelance press photographer. Then I got this offer for 1 year contract to the photo agency Lehtikuva, which is nowadays called STT Lehtikuva, and like a picture agency. And I worked there as 1 year, and after that I continued like a freelancing for 1 year, and then I applied to Academy of Fine Arts, and I applied to Taideteollinen korkeakoulu to photography. I didn't get into fine arts, not even in the sort of like the entrance exams, but I got into the STAIK.
Yeah, TAIK is what used to be, and it's now called Aalto. Yeah.
Yes, and it was a photography department.
What was your art like when you were starting to do the art? Because if you come from press photography, how do you transition to art photography?
It was a little bit divided feeling, because when I was studying even in Lahti, I felt that I wanted to make art somehow, but I was quite into this more of a documentary approach, more like a documentary photography was my thing than sort of like a building image. My final work from the Lahti was already a video, because I wanted to tell a story. I got more interested while I was doing this final work to Lahtis. I got somehow more interested about making videos.
And what are you doing at the moment?
At the moment, I am planning to make an installation work, which would sort of like combine bird sounds still. I'm into it still, but working a little bit differently. And also video, and these photographs which I started to take a little bit during I was making this bird disco vinyl record covers.
Yeah.
So I sort of like developing them, and then I wish that I would learn to use a little bit of lights too. So I'm thinking about this kind of a exhibition which is combined by sound, scape, videos, and perhaps photographies which are interacting with lightning, which is changing. That everything should be in sync somehow, synchronized. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. But I'm really excited about these photographs, which I'm taking at the moment, and I wish that that could be also some kind of a new project, which could be separated or is going to be separated from that exhibition to that.
Well, maybe you should actually explain a little more about the bird disco, because we talked about it a couple of times now, mentioned it. Maybe you can tell them more.
Yeah.
I don't want to like try to describe it
Yeah,
to the person who created it.
Yeah, it was a long like a bath. I made a video work which was called Harhailija, Meandering. I don't know if you have seen that. It was in Huuto, Galleria Huuto, 2018. And for that video work I was filming around here in Helsinki, in eastern Helsinki basically, almost all of it. No, some parts were in Sweden too, but this kind of like searching for something, kind of like going in different places. And during I was making these filmings, I found from the free sound, I found Yle Arkisto had downloaded and quite many bird sounds there.
Yle Arkisto is the broadcasting service.
Yeah,
archive.
And their archive, yeah. And they were just free to use. And I started to somehow think about that I have to do something with this material. And then I made some kind of a sketches, which ended up in that meandering. But it's a much more shorter loops. And when this meandering was ready and it was installed in Huuto, during that installing or something, I said to somebody that maybe it would be fun to make this kind of music more and invite people to dance to it, to make kind of like disco happenings. And then I started to sort of like develop it in my mind. I didn't do anything much about it, probably a year or two almost. And then I was thinking, okay, this could be something for like opening of some exhibition, a little bit bigger exhibition, like an opening happening. And but I wasn't really sure about the form, how to do it. Then I participated in this park gymnastics, these free ones, what we have in Helsinki.
Yeah,
like in different parks.
I go every summer to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I participated. They had it in almost like a background, our house in the park. And I went there a couple of times, and then I suddenly sort of like thought about that. Okay, this could be sort of like the form. That some way that there's like a dancer in the front of, like in this kind of a gymnastic, that there's somebody who shows the movements, and then the other ones just participate as well as they can. Then I saw that they were applying to, that Helsinki Biennale was applying this kind of like performances or happenings or whatever. You could sort of like just send the application.
Oh.
They had like open call for this kind of things in 2020, I think it was, because it was supposed to be 2019, because it was supposed to be 2020.
Yeah.
Approximately 1 year before. And then I thought, okay, this could be quite a good match with my idea of this like kind of a dancing and the bird sounds and in the island, and so there was sort of like good luck that appeared, and also that they had an open call for it. So I just made an application, and then when I spoke about with the curators who we met, there was probably 2 or 3 different stages. And then when I spoke about the curators, one of them said to me that she really liked the idea, but she said that get a professional dancer in it. that don't do it yourself. And then I understood that, yeah, because I'm not a dancer and I wouldn't, I don't know what kind of a movements I would have done if I just would have. And then I started to looking for a dancer. We have met each other physically only probably like 8 hours together or 10 hours max. Otherwise we were talking in like video meetings, and it was just amazing that how our chemistry then worked together. That it was just luck. We didn't know each other when we started to do this at all.
Yeah, and it worked pretty well. I mean, I saw the bird disco in the Biennale and I was like, wow, this is something super interesting, and I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And it seems that it somehow got more like not just a one-time project, but it keeps being in your practice somehow.
Yeah, it is. And we had like 19 performances in biennial in 5 days. And then we have something in store in the Night of Arts, but that was also COVID time. So there was just a bunch of people there. So we felt that we were not ready for that. And so we have been doing it in a supermarket festival in Stockholm. And then we had almost like 1 year pause. But then the people took contact with us and started to asking about it. Perhaps because the COVID was a little bit over and you could sort of like gather around. And
yeah.
So we have been doing it this year four times. Now this summer almost four times.
Yeah, and you just came back from Latvia, was it?
Yeah, from Riga. We had it in one gallery in Riga, like three times in that night.
And now you're having a record with it?
Yeah.
Is it going to be sold in some places or online, or how are you going to distribute it?
Yes, it's going to be sold in. I'm going to get them today, and it will be sold, for example, in Digelius, and then also probably online, and I hopefully will get it in some other places. But this is the part which I didn't really think about, that marketing is not my thing, that I probably need some help with it, that how to organize it.
Yeah.
But I noticed that absolutely the best way is to sell them when we have a bird disco.
Yeah.
Like when we have it, and then I can show you that I can show there that I have this record. So some people might buy it then.
How did you choose to go for making a record? Exactly. You can make a cassette, you can make a CD, you can just have it online as a MP3 or something.
But for me it was.
The records are cool though.
Yeah, and because of the size, I decided directly that I tried to make image that I like, that I sort of like was working quite a long time with the image in the covers, the back and inside. I can show you that there's a little bit a story of the cover, that you have like the forest with the disco lights in front, and then when you open it you see that image, which is a completely different, and then when you close it you see the sort of like the blue forest in a little bit this kind of like a disco manner.
So inside it's a bit grim image of the forest being cut.
Yeah.
Is it like a statement a bit?
Yeah, it is a statement a bit. Absolutely.
It's kind of leading me to my question of what are the main themes in your work?
I think I have been quite much dealing about how to be human, and sort of like the human life and our this life that what we have inside, how it connects to the outside world and stuff like that. Maybe in the bird disco I felt that when I got this idea to making this dance and all that, I thought about that, okay, is there some reason to make it? And then I read about this decreasing huge amount, decreasing levels of bird population. So I felt that okay, this makes this more relevant to make this kind of a work. That I have some kind of something else there. From my point of view, it feels that my way to work in this kind of theme is that I concentrate on the people, that why we are, even we have been knowing this 30, 40 years, why are we still behaving like this? That more probably from that direction than that it's just straightforward environmental question. I haven't been doing environmental themes before, really. But of course, due to the bird sounds, I got into it more, and I feel somehow that we are so dependent on all these a different life what's in the planet, like the insects and the birds and everything. So it is like a whole.
I mean, we are part of that whole, although we kind of try to separate ourselves.
Yeah, and ignore it somehow. So yeah, I felt that it was relevant to do this work, and maybe my sort of point in that more is sort of from the human perspective.
Yeah, you have also this other work that I saw briefly on your website again, about the walking, very much about observing the human, how it is to be human, that process of walking.
And in that, if you mean the unusual step,
yeah,
the one in the corner, taking really slow step, or the guide cycle, probably it's the right word for that. In that work, I was really wondering how we can walk, and it's such a thing what we learn. Our body learns that we can't really understand it. It's so complicated that we can sort of stand still, and that we don't fall, and then we can take the steps, and that just happens that if you start to try to sort of consciously think about it, then it doesn't work anymore. That we have this kind of a knowledge in our bodies, what we just have learned, and that just works.
Yeah, and walking is basically falling forward.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time.
Yeah, it is.
The other day I was going through Insta Reels, and then I don't know how it just popped into my feed, this visualizations of, it's like a 3D animation of how some different parts of the body work. Like you can see how machinic it is, just how the bone is and the muscles, I think it was a visualization of how the muscles work.
Okay, yeah.
And it was just like, oh wow, this super complicated machine.
Yeah, I'm not sure what are the English words, and maybe I have forgotten, but we have this learned schemes or kind of how the body works, and but then something unexpected happens. The body has to change the scheme, how to react to in it. And everything this happens sort of so fast that we can't. That if you for example, you're taking the steps, but the ground is not the same anymore, or there's a bump, you sort of have to react on that the foot goes differently.
Yeah.
And all this is sort of the whole body has to sort of balance it, that mistake what happens in that step, and that is in our sort of a body or in the brains, in this kind of learned what we don't think about consciously, but it's just there automation.
Going towards more of the process of how you work, do you have a specific ways of working or routines of some sort? Or
yeah, kind of I think the routines are they are a bit hard for me, and maybe I'm that kind of person, but my main routine is that I come here to my studio approximately 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I go home approximately 4 o'clock.
Proper work day.
It's a proper work day, and it's really funny to hear that many other ones have started to say the same thing. You can hear now and then that this kind of myth of working as an artist during the nights drinking red wine, that doesn't. It's really many who just decide that they have to keep up this routine. They come here and they start to doing, and then they create during this office time.
Yeah.
But of course, for me, it's the reason is that I have 3 kids.
Yeah, and also that story about the artist and the wine and the night work, like how sustainable is that? How long can you do that before you just break?
Yeah.
That's very 20th century.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only way.
Yeah.
And I feel that is quite good for me. But of course, I work really much. Also, I don't do everything in here. I just I go to see watching the places where I want to film. So I might take a bicycle around somewhere, or sometimes I need to take a car too, that I need to drive and check some places where I could film stuff. And so that's also part of it. And make like a sketch photographing or sketch filming with a video.
So you do quite a lot of preparations before you go and actually film? Absolutely.
And quite often I film the same thing 2-3 times because I make mistakes what I don't like, and that's sort of like quite a normal way for me.
A few words about the studio space, as usual. You are sharing your space with your wife.
Yes.
But you kind of have separate rooms here.
Yes, absolutely. We need that.
How long have you been here?
We have been here more or less, I think, from 2010 or something like that. Over 10 years. Yeah, over 10 years. But first it was that way that there was another artist who was in that big room. And we had this small place together. But we had, at that time, we had one working room at home. As you see here, I have just like a small part of it, but I don't either need that much.
Is it important for you to have a studio space, or do you think you can just work at home?
No, well? I couldn't. But of course, I have been doing that sometime, and sometimes it's quite nice that I don't have to come here. If I just need to write something, I can perhaps find a place at home.
What is the best thing about this studio that you like the most?
I think it's really nice that it's high in the ceiling. So even if I have what is this, maybe maximum 5 or 6 square meters, when it's high, the room, it doesn't feel that small. Yeah. As it is, like this bottom, and then I of course like the window that it's up there,
and
it's really big, and also that we are so high in the building, so it's quite much light and also nice view outside.
Do you go to exhibitions otherwise? Do you visit them?
Yes, I try to do that, but I should do it more often actually.
Where do you go most often?
Of course, I try to see everything what's in Kiasma, and then Taidehalli, Amos Anderson, and then the quite basic route is that if I take like Anhava, Forsblom, Helsinki Contemporary, and then Hippolyte. That is sort of quite a nice. And of course, I used to go then to Galleria Huuto, but now when we moved local to the Kalasatama, then it's probably not the same route. And then of course I try to go to see Mu, and there's this photography museum in Cable Factory. Kohta has really good exhibitions, but that's a little bit off, that I really need to plan that.
What are some artists that you like their work and follow?
When I start to work, I try to then look some of the, like probably somebody who has been working a little bit the same way. And of course there are really many works what I have liked it. I don't have in that way, of course, I don't really go to see like in Instagram or Facebook or their homepages either often. But it's a bit hard question, but I tried to think about this, like so I have to check a bit. But
yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that you actually made a list.
yeah, it felt that way that because there are so many good artists in Finland even and abroad.
Yeah, of course.
That so it's really hard. But when I was thinking about this, I thought about that. Of course, in the beginning when I started to work with the video, I tried to check what Bruce Nauman was doing and trying to get a little bit into it, because I probably have some like works which were a little bit inspired by him and was close to it, and so I needed to check that and feel that if this is like different. And then Bill Viola, of course, who had an exhibition in Amos Anderson.
Oh, that was such a wonderful exhibition.
And then there was then I have seen really, sometimes when I think about some works, I come up with this Markus Kores, The Room, which has like a mirror cut, opening cut in the mirror. So it's a double room. And then I thought about this Maria Virkkala's work, which is sort of like I think it was a stone in the middle of room, and then there was these ladders, but the floor was moving. That when you stand on the floor.
Was that in Kiasma at some point?
That has been at least in Taidehalli quite a long time ago, but it could be that it has been in Kiasma too.
I have some vague memory about this kind of a work.
Yeah, and then of course when Eija-Liisa Ahtila had her big exhibition in Kiasma, I can't remember even when it was, but that was really, of course, really powerful and made a huge impression. Then Lauri Astala's works, I have liked it, and I try to always follow when he is making exhibition. And what else? I thought about that. It feels really bad if I say some, but then I forgot somebody. But,
I mean, it's a momentary snapshot of what's on your mind. It's not like eternal list.
Yeah, exactly. And then the one work too I felt was really impressive was Shirin Neshat. She had an exhibition in Espoo in Emma, and then there was one work which was called, I think it was called Turbulent, and that was really strong. And there probably I thought about the sound also, that it was so it was singing. It was kind of one man was it was two projections like this, and then one man was singing and their background was a man, and then there was a woman singing alone, and they were sort of like singing after each other's, and that I felt that it was really like a powerful work, but on the other hand it used it really nicely, the sound. So it was sort of like a strong experience, both like visually and sound, and sort of like the whole thing.
It sounds a bit like you like works that are spatial somehow, like around you.
Yeah, could be that it's that is quite important for me. But then I have these like photographers, like my old teacher Jan Kaila. He was really important for me when I was studying, and this collaboration what he did with Eelis Sinistö. And then I don't know if you know Ilkka Halso, makes these big nature, a little bit like a nature photography, but he has built with a computer, like sites in the nature. And those I find always fascinating. I show them quite often when I'm teaching, and I think he's really fascinating. And then Ulla Jokisalo, Jorma Puranen, these all the ones, they are really inspiring. One artist from Iceland called Sigurdur Gudmundsson, he made this really like a humoristic photography at I think it was in 70s, and those were quite important for me, because I sort of like understood that okay, I think these are really poetic, but they are humoristic at the same time. And it doesn't have to be always so like a dead serious, but still they can be deep.